lot, but it was good. It was good. Good for people who look like us to know, that you can still be what people say that you can't. It was kind of my case, not with my family, more like teachers. I remember because I started as a communications major, communications, broadcast journalism, and I remember there was one class that I took and I did really bad because first of all, the class was like super long. And I just remember this particular class, I had to get a signature because it was a 400 level class. And the teacher was like, oh, this class is going to be too hard for you. You're going to have to work extra hard, blah, 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 blah. When I tell you that teacher came back to me after the 9 week, well, 10 weeks were over, we were on quarters. He said, I apologize. You did really well. I ended up getting an A+ in that class. So you just have to be careful of what you tell somebody that they cannot be because you never know, you know, what they're going to be. I mean, it really, I really had a passion for communications. I really had a passion for arts, and I did well. And I've had other people come back and apologize to say, "Well, you don't know anything about the entertainment industry." I'm like, "Well, how don't I know anything about the entertainment industry? This is what I have my master's in. This is what I studied. How can you tell that?" Now they see everything that I have going on, and they're like, some of them don't have anything to say, but some of them are like, "Wow, you're doing, we're proud of you." I'm like, "Well, thank you. I was trying to get you to see that before, but we should never like put down people because we don't want them to be in a certain position, especially our people. We
Mhm.
tend to do that to each other a lot. But I know you talked about this a lot, um, like networking. So I'm trying my hardest to get the word out about our networking event. Can you talk to us about how important networking and building relationships with people in the film industry is?
It is very important, very, very important. The first 2 years of my company, I spent getting the word out about who I was and what I did and what my company could offer. And so I had to shake a lot of hands and kiss a lot of babies. And now I can relax and I've got a lot of word of mouth happening. So I haven't had to put up any Instagram posts or Facebook posts or go to a lot of events. And it has made my life so much better. I like to think of it as a long term investment. So when you're out there meeting people and you're making connections and letting them see your work and being invested in them and doing favors for them and all of that, you're creating a life for yourself
Mm-hmm.
in the future. So, yes, you can get work now. Yes, you can have fun now. But the difference between you being able to sit back and do your work without having to hustle here and there to see who can help you is how many people already have a good rapport with you. How many people already know your name, who can advertise for you, who can do all these things that you feel like it's difficult now, but you don't have to do later. Well, not very much because you've already put in that investment. So if you are just starting out in the industry, if you have um, just got out of school, or you're still in school, or whatever it is, please think about your future. Think about what you want your life to look like, and that putting in the time now is going to change your life later. I couldn't see it then. I thought that networking mostly meant that I had opportunities today and maybe
Mm-hmm.
tomorrow, but not right now where I'm sitting here. I haven't put up any ads and I'm getting jobs constantly. People are still emailing me and being able to automate my career like that, my paychecks like that. That's because of the investments. There's so many things you can get from networking. One, you'll learn where the industry is going. And if you have no idea where the industry is going, then at some point you're going to sound like you're out of date when you're speaking to someone. And then no matter what happens in our economy, because it's kind of up in the air every now and then, you're going to be able to have people who you can rely on to give you the scoop on what jobs are available or what clients need work done or how you can improve yourself. You might even meet someone who ends up changing your life because the relationship is so strong. The
Right.
event
Yeah.
that's being put on, I would definitely recommend going. I went to every single event I could. In fact, I kept an event calendar for the animation industry in my region. Um, and I put it on my website. That's how dedicated I was to going to these events. I would say definitely go to the event, meet people, because we're all just now tiptoeing back into interacting with each other.
Hmm.
Unlike before, you have excitement to your advantage. You have the excitement of people wanting to see another face, remembering the first few faces they engaged with after coming out of quarantine. So use this to your advantage. Please don't let this opportunity slip you by. Events like the one that's being put on, they can really shape where your future is going to go and what it's going to look like.
Right. I agree. I've even written several blogs on the importance of networking because I mean, I just feel like the industry is so small here and it's of course it's growing and you just never know like the people that you can connect with. Because what I do, and I don't know if you knew this, people that I interview like you, I've actually like feel like during the pandemic having the virtual interviews I'm able to connect with people more. I started when I started the blog I was just sending the questions to people, having them answer them on their own and send them back, never really like connecting with them. But like everybody from like March up until now, I'm able to like connect with, and then we've done things virtually together. I had Joshua meet with my best friend's son who wants to go into animation. We did that via Zoom, and I've had one time I had three different people on a career panel, and then it was like several other panels I was able to pull from people that I interviewed because I was like, these are great people that people need to know about, and I know people who are students who want to get into the fields, and these would be good people to hear from. And I always try to get, I'm like, well, Atlanta to me and a lot of other people is like the new Hollywood of the South. Why not make kids aware of the different fields in the entertainment industry? It's not always working in front of the camera. There's behind the cameras, there's animation, there's media, just to, but I'm able to pull just from networking and building those relationships with people. So thank you for that. That would help. So I kind of threw that question in there. That wasn't, I thought about it when you were saying the whole networking thing. But so, how and why did my animation life come into fruition? And can you share with us some of the things that you provide?
So my animation life is a part of my grander dream for my career. I wanted to start an animation resource library that would assist people with creating projects and getting education for very low cost. Um, when I was in school, uh, I struggled, not with the academics so much as the technology. And when it came to the industry, I had to learn so much of how animation is done, who were the key players, what tools do I need, how can I strengthen my education when I leave school. I remember being in my senior portfolio class, and I had this really fun professor. And at some point, and I think it was like the last 2 weeks, he remembered that we had a syllabus that we were supposed to be following. And so he's like, oh, yeah, let me open this thing up. We hadn't been doing anything off the syllabus earlier. We were just learning about
Wow.
animal history. And I was having a lot of fun doing that. And then the last 2 weeks, he says, make a website, make a business card, reach out to 3 employers, and get them to respond back to you about a job. Oh yeah, that means finding a list of jobs in your industry that you could work for. And I need you to finish this all in 2 weeks. And we had not learned how to make a website, how to make a business card, what goes on, like none of it. And so
Wow.
I was scrambling, just like, what do I do? And I asked my peers, I thought, okay, what resources do I have? I have what I know in my brain, not so much. And I have what my peers know in their brains, probably more than me. So I went around asking like, "Oh, do you know about an animation studio here in Atlanta?" Because I did a Google search and it came up with like 13 places, and 7 of them weren't even in operation. So the list was like Cartoon Network, Adult Swim. Um, there was what else was on the list? Some people who were independent animation studios. Those kind of things were up on there, and they weren't really viable for me to apply to as someone just getting out of school with my skill level. So I asked some of my peers, like, "Oh, do you know of another animation studio? Do you know someone who's hiring?" I've been looking at jobs online, and this is before the internet was as useful as it is now. So there
Right.
weren't a lot of listings of what jobs were out there. I absolutely could not find out how much I was supposed to get paid. That information was not accessible. And
Wow.
I was asking people these questions, and I kept getting these hollow answers of, "Oh, you just kind of look it up, you just it's out there, if you just keep searching," and they wouldn't tell me where they were
Mm.
applying to or what they had found. And I felt like everyone was protecting their information because they had this
Mhm.
mindset of scarcity that if they shared with me, there would be less for them, or maybe they would even lose the opportunity. So I got really upset. I decided to just get out there. I went to the one studio I knew about that would let me in with, of course, the animation club I was president of. I went to Radical Access and I met people and I asked the artists there. Now, those people were not afraid that I would take their job. They had no problem telling me about another studio they worked at or another thing that they knew about. And I started collecting information that way. And then I would go to the next thing they told me about. I went to Soapbox Studios and I met some artists there and they told me more information. And I started collecting this information and creating my first database, a database of employers, of studios. And then I started putting educational sites, what you need to know if you're getting into industry. I just started making all these lists and manuals and filling out information. And I thought, you know what? One day I will have the information. I will know what studios are out there. I will know what it takes to get a job. I will know what's being offered. And when I do, I'm going to release it to the world for free. And no one's going to stand in anyone's way because the the barrier between an artist reaching their goal shouldn't be whether they know a job is open or whether they are aware of a studio or whether they know what they need to have in their tool belt to be in a pipeline. Their barrier should only be the level of their creativity. And I believe that so
Right.
strongly. So education has always been at the forefront. And while I was working in animation studios and doing my animation, that stayed inside of me. I kept doing events with ASIFA Atlanta, which is now ASIFA South. I did events on my own as well to help people network. I would host panels and workshops and just send out email newsletter blast, do article posts, do interviews, do all sorts of things to get people more informed. And I would also connect people with people who are in the industry. So I'd set up those kind of connections, whether it was in a large group or even one on one with mentorships. Um, but when I left Floyd County Production on Archer, I decided just to start my own business. This would be the time. I've been thinking about it for a while. I had been doing a lot of what I wanted to do earlier. This is a great time for me to just dive completely in and go ahead and try to turn this into something. And so the first 2 years, I threw every spaghetti noodle at the wall to see what stuck. We started out with just a job meeting where we sat in my dining room and just talked about what opportunities existed and what information we found out. So everybody comes together and shares their insider trade secrets, everything that you found out. What director did you talk to and what did they say? What animator is using what? Who's paying what? We just shared everything that we knew with each other. And then it moved to also having workshops and then also having presentations from professionals to come in and teach you intricate parts of the industry that you need to know, whether that's software or the business or the art or anything like that. Maybe even just the social structure. We hosted networking events. Um, I really loved when we could hold boot camps and help people who are a lot younger who in my opinion, would not have had access to meeting people in the pipeline. So my animation life came out of this real need for our industry to be more transparent and to be more supportive of each other, and also for a need for the information to travel farther outside of just art schools and the little circles of whoever knows whoever in the industry. It needs to reach people who may be inspired to be animators or character designers or storyboarders, but just don't know how to go about doing it or even know that it's an option for them.
Wow, I mean that's so similar to why we started Atlanta Film and TV, because people were so stingy about with sharing information. And I remember, I think it was 2012, my husband and I went to a taping of Family Feud, and I was like, there was a girl with headsets on. I don't know if she was a production assistant. I don't know what she was, but my husband was like, "Ooh, you can do that." And he was like, trying to ask her, how did you go about getting that job? And she didn't want to say. And she was just like, "Tell her to go on Craigslist." And I was like, "What?" And at the time I was in my entertainment business program, and that next Monday I asked my professor, and he was like, "She shouldn't have, told you to go to Craigslist. There's other staffing sources." And she didn't want to share, and it's just like she didn't want me to take her job. And I was just like,
Yeah.
I probably wouldn't have tried to get a job on that show, maybe on another show, but just sharing the wealth of knowledge, like how, where to take acting classes, who's good at headshots, how to act on set, because I was in groups where people just didn't know, and I'm just like, nobody is sharing this information. They're all harboring it to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
How can I get into acting? I want a talent agent. Well, and then I'll ask them, what types of things have you done? Have you worked background? And then I'll let them know, like, no, I have not worked background. And I'm like, well, put the headshots to the side, get you some experience working on set, and then, do some independent projects, get your name out there, get stuff for footage for a demo reel, then think about getting headshots, then think about getting a talent agent. But I'm just like, nobody, no, it was just like nobody would share. And I'm just like, that's ridiculous. So I would just blog. I kind of like stepped away from giving a lot of game. I've been more trying to get game from people like you, who do the interviews. But yeah, that's the exact same reason why Atlanta Film and TV was started. Um, so if I could travel back in time and interview 18-year-old Alyssa and tell her all the things that she'd become, what would you least likely believe to be true?
18-year-old, I'm in my first year of college. No, I'm in my second year. And I am learning some things that should be basic when it comes to technology. Very, very shy. Also very awkward. I would not believe that I was running a company and people actually felt confident to give me money. I experienced so much rejection, and a lot of people attributed it to my appearance, and the idea that people would accept the way I exist and feel confident with giving me money, having me do a project, say nice things about me and my work, and interacting with me would be very challenging for me to accept.
There's nothing wrong with your appearance. That's why I'm just like, I keep hearing you say that. I'm like, what? Like
When
really?
I'm in Atlanta, I meet so many kind people. The first times people would actually say, "Oh, you're so pretty," or whatever, or "You look nice." Outside of, I did do runway modeling when I was younger. My mom put me in that to help build self-esteem. But I was always like the exotic thing, the object, the strange alien kind of entertainment piece. Um, at
Oh,
the agency, I enjoyed it and it was fun. Um, but when I came to Atlanta is when people would say these kind of things. When I was back in those other towns, people were disgusted with me. I got death threats. I was physically harmed. I got all sorts of things that would happen on a consistent basis. And Atlanta has been such a dream come true. What a dreamboat
oh
compared to
yeah.
where I was before. I leave out of my house, people don't stare me down. I might get a glance or two based on how I appear that day, but it's not because of my existence. I haven't, I don't remember being followed around in a store here in Atlanta where that was commonplace. I had to worry all the time about my safety and who was going to do what because they feared this or because they assumed whatever about me. So thinking that my appearance was acceptable was definitely far from mine because at what point in my life was it ever okay to exist like this?
Wow, yeah, I think I've learned down south they're more accepted. I don't want to think that's a correct word, but darker complected people are looked at differently. Like I noticed that my husband always teases and says I'm probably one of the only dark skinned person in Ohio, which is not true, because there's a lot of light skinned people. There's a lot, I mean, really, 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 really light skinned people. There's a lot of biracial people, but I noticed that I'm more people are more drawn to me here than back home in Ohio. So I can I can see that, but I'm like, there's nothing wrong with your appearance at all. I'm just like, what? So,
I feel that now
um,
when I look back at those pictures, I feel like, man, they were so mean to this person. Why?
yeah, yeah.
Like
I
my
just,
teacher, I was in technology class in seventh grade, and we had to pretend we were newscasters and give this whole like news talk or whatever. And I practiced. I got on. Hi, we're live with Allyssa Lewis, and I just started giving my whole thing. I got dressed up, and at the end of it, I felt so good. I was like, I think I did a good job. And one of the students in the class said, "Oh, that was really good, but I hate to tell you, dark skin just doesn't look good on camera." And then
oh wow.
looked to my teacher immediately, like, "It's okay that they said that." And my teacher said, "Yeah, I'm sorry." And I was removed from the
What?
team. So I remember
Oh,
I got taken off of the team that sat in front of the camera and I got put behind the scenes. It didn't matter that I did a good job. My appearance was not acceptable. And so those kind of experiences build up and it made me feel like, oh, well, it doesn't matter how much I try, there's always going to be some barrier outside of my control. And so coming to Atlanta was very helpful so that I could even see myself excelling.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and just look at all the dark skinned people that are. I watch 11 Live, and there's like Aisha Howard. There's I can't Letitia Lance. There's somebody else I can't even think of them. There's so many like darker people. I'm like, I think dark skinned people look great on camera. Um, so I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're probably those people are probably eating their words right now
They
because
are.
of all.
I actually connected with one of them on Facebook, and I remember it was last summer during the Black Lives Matter marches that were really starting to take off and go global. And I remember seeing a post on her page that was like, "I have always been an ally," and blah 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 blah, blah. And I was like, "Girl, you made my life miserable." All the
Wow.
hateful things you've done. So yes, and she said, "Oh, Lisa, I've always been so proud of you." Well, I was like,
Wow. Wow. Yeah, people are really eating their words and coming back and. So where do you see the, excuse me, where do you see the Atlanta film industry in the next 5 years?
I see us really taking over. The cost of living in a lot of other cities are just not going down, especially when I'm speaking of the main one, the ones in California and Los Angeles. The surrounding
Hmm.
cities there, it's not going down, it's going up. I'm seeing more and more people come over here. I'm seeing people who are here already get hired by people in Los Angeles. And I think that a lot of major cities are going to lose their top talents to our market and that we're going to continue to grow. Now, what will the artists here do? We have
Right.
had a good runway to start learning more about how production is handled outside of Atlanta. We've been the small town, that kind of cozy place you could come to and meet friendly faces that will help you get your project done for a low price. But we need to start thinking about what it's going to look like when the people who are used to a different culture come here and spread their cultural norms in our area, because the kind of warmth and kindness that we have, I hope, stays. But culture really comes from its people. And if people
Mm.
who come who are used to, you have to step on someone, you have to, um, maybe not as be, not be as Southern charming as we are now. I think it's going to change the way we adapt to that, because we still want the jobs, we still want the opportunities. And I think that's going to reshape the way we engage with each other. And my hope is always that we get to influence others more than they influence us. So I hope that the the state that we have now, because when I think about Atlanta and I think about our industry, I do think it's one of the kindest ones. I'm from New York. I've lived in California. I've been all over the US. I've seen the difference between the entertainment industry in these regions, and I love our region. We are the best. And I don't just say that because I live here. We are the best. We are the kindest. We are the most supportive. We are the most helpful. When you need something, you can call someone from Atlanta and they will do their best to help you, not just because it benefits them, but because it's the right thing to do and because they
Right.
actually
Yeah.
want to see you succeed. And I hope that that mentality can win over a lot of other mentalities that are out there. And I hope that for my fellow Atlanteans, that we still prepare for um, just the emergence of other cultures coming in strong with different value systems.
Wow, that was a good answer. So my last question is, what is one piece of advice you could give someone wanting to pursue a career in animation?
If you want to be an animator and you have never made an animation, my first piece of advice is to make an animation. So go online, figure out what you need to do, whether that's stop motion because you don't own any software. Maybe you don't really have a computer of your own. You don't have a lot of fancy equipment. Do some stop motion stuff. Maybe do some paper and pencil stuff. If you have access to a computer and you can't afford software, use Blender, use open source tunes, use those kind of software programs to really just get your feet wet. What you want to do is start figuring out if you like animation. So, if this is something you enjoy figuring out, if you like learning, know that you're going to be doing that for the rest of your career. You're constantly going to be learning. Even at my stage, I'm constantly looking up the newest practices, the newest techniques, the newest whatever is happening in the industry. So, if you enjoy learning it, if it's something that sparks your interest, the next step would be to find people who do it, reach out, say, hey, I just wanted to know more about what you do. Do what's happening now. Do a mini interview. Add some value. Like right now, I'm doing this interview and I know it's going to go somewhere that adds value to me. And it's this exchange. You can make these exchanges with other people. I did that when I joined other organizations and brought people to that artist that added value to them. So you can do that. You can also reach out to them individually if you feel like you do have some sort of value you can add, whether that's lots of praise, if you're doing so great, and be able to see their work. Getting as much exposure as possible early on is going to help you figure out if this is something you want to do. Because I have met people who have left animation because they decided that they wanted to do something that was completely different. They weren't aware of other opportunities in their life. And I've seen people come from other industries into animation because it's something they really wanted to do. But getting that clarity early on is going to save you a lot of time. It's going to help you know what kind of animation you like most, what part of the pipeline you want to be in. Is it just the animation? Is it character animation? Is it phys effects? Is it background animation for props and stuff? What do you like? What do you want to do? Remember that whatever you start doing is not for the rest of your life, it's just for the next few years. You're going to commit to it and get really good at it. And if you want to shift, you want to change, you want to do something completely different or just a little bit different, you have that opportunity. But first, just do an animation and then connect with people who are already doing it to figure out if this is for you.
Wow, that was a great piece of advice. that I actually would love to like send to my son's school. My son is about to be he is senior now, so he'll be graduating in 2022. So yeah, that was a great piece of advice. So thank you so much. We really appreciate you speaking to me and sharing your knowledge with those in Atlanta film and TV. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate you bringing me on. Thank you for having this platform, helping so many people.
You're welcome. Thank you.